and welcome to Pharma Television News Review here in Munich at BioEurope 2010. On this show, I have Finn Benned Hansen, who is Corporate Vice President and Head of Strategy and Sourcing at Novo Nordisk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Finn, Novo Nordisk is obviously very well known for its insulin-based products. But you're here at BioEurope here in Munich in November 2010. And you're here for a purpose, obviously to seek out new partnerships. So before we go into what you're looking for, could you tell us a little bit about you and your role within Novo Nordisk and how partnering is structured within Novo Nordisk?
Well, I head a sourcing group, as you said, that focuses on finding new opportunities for diabetes and obesity. We also have another group that looks for other biologicals in the inflammatory area, for hemostasis and other biologicals. And so our role is to go out and identify and evaluate such opportunities that we find. At Novo Nordisk, once we have done a careful evaluation and have decided together with in dialogue with a partner that there is an interesting opportunity here, then we hand over the task to further do the deal making and the due diligence to our business development group at Novo Nordisk. And once and if an agreement is done, then we hand the implementation of the agreement and the further development of the relationship to the partner to our corporate alliance management group.
Sure. So, I mean, clearly it's important for a company like Novo Nordisk to gain access to opportunities that exist outside. Obviously, you've got your own research and development groups within Novo Nordisk. Just going to you and what you're looking for, particularly within your group, what is it within the areas like diabetes and obesity that you're specifically looking for? What sort of pipeline are you looking for?
Well, what Novo Nordisk research and development within diabetes currently focuses on insulins, and I'll describe that a little later, hopefully, novel GLP-1 agonists, anti-obesity agents, and also other novel anti-diabetic compounds. When I say compounds, I should clarify that Novo Nordisk Novo Nordisk R&D is solely focused on proteins and peptides. We do not do small molecules. So our focus is to find novel compounds in each of these areas, and we have particular focus on novel anti-diabetic proteins and also novel anti-obesity proteins. So that's one area. The other area is that apart from compounds, we're also very interested in technology in the diabetes area, because we have a large effort invested currently into developing orally available insulins and GLP-1s. So whilst we have a lot of expertise in doing the molecules, then in terms of the formulation part, we don't know that much. So that's where we are very, very actively looking for new opportunities. We have in fact screened at this point up to 300 different formulation technologies, and we ended up actually making agreements with 2 technology providers. And these types of technologies are now in clinical phase 1.
Which technologies are you using?
This is we have an agreement with Marion Pharmaceuticals and their GIPA technology, and also Hemisphere and their SNAC technology. So these are the 2 that we are researching right now.
So just on the topic of drug delivery, I mean, obviously there's still a real big need for appropriate delivery systems for larger proteins and even peptides. What is the landscape like? I mean, obviously, if you've been looking at over 100 different technologies, is there still room for new technologies to come into that space?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a daunting task, actually, to develop usable orally available protein and peptides. I mean, the issue is that you will have to provide a sufficient bioavailability for the drugs, as well as decrease or control the variability of the drug. And this is a large challenge to develop these types of products, and certainly there's room for a lot of technology development there, yes.
Right, and it's not just getting into just delivery through oral delivery, it's just through any means. I mean, even if it's an injectable, it still may need some sort of specific formulation.
Yeah, well, if we continue on oral, our current focus is on oral delivery through the gut or through the intestinal system. So we're certainly also looking for buccal delivery, and we have also looked at other modes of delivery, inhalation delivery. For example, we had a large program some years ago with along with a number of the other pharma companies, and unfortunately that failed. But still, there is a need to find new methods to deliver these types of drugs from their injectable formulations as now.
You also talked about platform technologies. I mean, obviously there's drug delivery systems, but also technologies that will enable you to discover new products, new potential drugs.
Yeah, we have a lot of interest in beta cells, for example. We have a large beta cell program right now, and we are attempting to discover drugs that will form new beta cells, maintain the beta cell mass in diabetes. Of course, that decreases in diabetes. So technology platforms that can also help us in identifying novel drugs and novel targets there is certainly of interest.
And what about the potential for stem cell?
We also have a stem cell program internally. We are trying to develop stem cells into fully functional beta cells. And certainly also there is an interest in finding new technology. It is one thing is that you can make a fully functional beta cell. The other thing is actually to make it function once you have it in the body, because it is attacked by our immune system. So we need to protect them in some way or the other. Traditionally people have been using encapsulation technology, and this is certainly also an area that we will presumably be looking at, but there are also other types of technologies there. But that's also an area.
Let's go back to the sort of non-core areas, the ones that, let's say, which Novo Nordisk is less traditionally known for. And that's a lot of that activity I realise is in an additional group to yours, which is looking for these particular products. But could you describe what they're specifically looking for and the types of opportunities they seek out? Yeah.
Well, Novo Nordisk, there are basically two areas there. One is hemostasis, hemophilia hemostasis, and the other area is the inflammatory diseases. And it is our strategy currently to develop a full portfolio of hemophilia compounds. So we have, apart from our Novo 7, which is now a drug that sells more than 1 billion, we are also aiming at providing factor 8 and factor 9, the other coagulation factor, as well as factor 13 to the market. So I think we are fairly well along the lines there, although we have actually established partnerships there, especially to prolong the action of these factors. But we are certainly looking for for compounds that still can be used in the treatment of hemophilia and create hemostasis, but that are outside of the traditional factor products. So that's one area of interest. The other area is the inflammatory diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and also lupus. And of course, type 1, especially type 2, especially type 1, but also type 2 diabetes is also regarded as an inflammatory disease. So we're also looking for compounds that potentially can be used to treat diabetes also. Okay.
So I mean, clearly that's quite a broad range still within big targets to go for. With regard to Novo Nordisk's past, you've had a history of partnering, and even though you're setting yourselves out for a specific drive in partnering right now, you've got a history of partnering, of not only partnering but also buying companies like Zymogenetics and selling them off or divesting them, also spinning out other parts to Novo Nordisk. So you're a company that has a lot of experience in that particular area. But when we look at, say, for example, the relationship you had with Zymogenetics, because obviously there are a number of products, including your blockbuster Nova 7, that came originally from Zymogenetics. Obviously, most people will know that Zymogenetics is now being bought by BMS. So how does that affect Novo Nordisk, this new purchase by BMS?
Well, I don't think that it'll affect Novo Nordisk. The relations we won at the time, this was in 2000 when Zymogenetics was spun out of Novo Nordisk and made an IPO. We had an agreement with Zymogenetics giving us access to, in fact, the full range of targets that they were looking for in their. Basically, this was their protein target discovery effort. And we took a number of licenses actually to the targets, and we now have at least 2 that are in clinical development, and I believe there are more actually in our research pipeline. And these licenses will certainly stand, even though that Zymogenetics is now part of Bristol Myers.
Yeah. So as I said, you've got this experience. So where does that place Novo Nordisk going into the future? Because you have these options. You've had this experience as well of buying companies and divesting them and so forth. So within the remit of your overall strategy of building a Novo Nordisk for the future, you got your internal research, you've got these licensing arrangements and partnering arrangements with various companies. Where does that go into the future? And does it still include the possibility that you go out there and acquire more companies? Does it mean that you go into joint ventures? So what's the remit as you see it for Novo Nordisk going into the future in order to secure its own future?
Well, there's no question about that partnering is going to be a very important element to Novo Nordisk research strategy also in the future. I think I can see that in diabetes we have made some partnerships but are not really known for many, although I should say that as a company we were founded on a license, and also I can also mention that our Victoza is actually also founded on a license. I don't think many people knows that. Yeah. But Novo Nordisk has focused on our insulin business, and that has basically been by internal innovation. But as we now move into more and more into new areas, into addressing diabetes, also the diabetes comorbidities, there it's very certain that partnerships are going to be an integral part of Novo Nordisk. If we turn to the inflammation area, that is right now, the pipeline is fully, comes from partnerships exclusively. And that's also going to be a very, very important area for us going forward. So I think that whilst Novo Nordisk may not have been known as, doing many deals, I think you will certainly see many more deals in the future also. When it comes to acquisitions, we're certainly always looking for acquisitions. We haven't done many in the past. I perhaps should mention that along with our setting or initiating inflammation as an area, we actually also initiated oncology as an area. However, there it was a requisite for us that we would find a company that could provide us with the competencies and perhaps the pipeline that we would need to start off this. And we were looking for that for 2 years, but unfortunately didn't find a suitable acquisition target there.
You're still looking for an oncology company?
No, we have decided to terminate oncology now. Now we're focusing on inflammation.
Right. So the future of Novo Nordisk, is it a specialty pharmaceutical company or is it a growing larger pharma company?
I would say that we are a growing larger company. I mean, if you take the United States, we now have actually a general practitioner sales force that is at the size of the big pharma company or larger pharma companies, so to speak. So I think we actually view us in some respects as a specialty company, but also in other respects as as a large pharma company. So in some instances, with the company, we look ourselves in diabetes more as a large pharma company and as a specialty company in the other biologics area that we are moving into now. But certainly our relationship to specialists, this is one of the strengths that we have, is certainly something that we are going to maintain in the future.
Finn Benned Hansen, thank you very much indeed for coming on the show.